A brand new photo of Donald Trump has been found in the Epstein files. Let's talk about it. So as you can see, this is the page on which the Trump photograph was found. EFTA 01249200. You can see it's subject to a protective order for some reason. And in the photograph, Trump is seen shaking hands with this man. And it's kind of hard to tell, but based on the decorating style of the photos on the tables and surfaces, it looks to me like this picture was taken inside of one of Epstein's properties. We all know at this point that Epstein and Trump were very good friends. Trump has lied many times and said that he ended his relationship with Epstein back in the 2000s, but we know that that's not true. It's proven that's a false statement. But who is this man with Trump? Well, it turns out this man's name is Gypsy Gita. I think that's how you say it. He was kind of a spiritual guru to the stars and a sort of spiritual healer massage artist, intimately linked to Epstein and Maxwell. This also appears in the files. It looks to be a card of his. You can see it's also subject to protective order. Gypsy Gita, beyond the boundaries of physical illusions lies the realm of the spirit, the ageless world of truth. Your journey begins here. I will be your guide. Let go of your fear. Then he lists these locations and says, anywhere you need me. 90-minute session, $350. Special price for children and people with cancer. 3, 5, 7, and 30-day vision quests. $3,500 a day plus a per diem. So what was Trump doing with a spirit vision quest, spirit healing, masseuse, whatever you'd call this guy? And why were they together in the Epstein files? What was the relevance of this image? I don't know, but I'm going to keep you guys updated as soon as we find out more about this. This is obviously, just like with all the other stories, a rapidly developing story. This image of Trump is in the Epstein files. I am not kidding you. So people online recently discovered this photograph. This is exactly how this appears in the Epstein files. I verified this for myself, but if you for some reason are one of those people that doesn't believe me, you can check for yourself. And yeah, this is the image of Donald Trump that appears in the Epstein database. Now, as is the case with all of these images, we don't know who sent this image, where this image comes from, why this image was included in the Epstein files database. We don't know if this image was located on one of Epstein's devices or what, but it is yet another reference to the current United States president and his role in the Epstein scandal/affair. The image of Trump appears to be a reference to this image, or rather this outfit worn by the UK's Princess Beatrice, who wore this bizarre hat to a wedding. This is a wedding hat she was wearing, and for some reason this was photoshopped onto Trump's head and then I believe sent to someone in the Epstein network, maybe to Epstein himself. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe Epstein made this himself. But there are just so many references to Donald Trump in the Epstein files. It blows my mind that investigators are not interviewing Trump. And truly, if our government actually cared about the people, they would have been independently interviewing Trump and all of his cronies and all of these people named months, if not years ago. Yet we know that until the people in the White House right now are kicked out, we are never going to see any justice for any victims of Jeffrey Epstein. And that is because allegedly the guy who is in control of the entire United States was one of the biggest abusers. Jeffrey Epstein was a part of a nudist gang who patrolled a beach in Sandy Hook protecting nudists. This is information coming from a tip sheet that was found in the Epstein files. I just have to read this to you in full because it's so bizarre. But there is actually some corroborating information that I find to be compelling. We'll talk about at the end. So this witness said from 1980 through 1993, Betzok met Epstein approximately 8 times. The initial introduction in 1980 was at the clothing optional beach in Sandy Hook, New Jersey. Epstein was part of a group of 20 men, some were gay, called the Greyhounds or the Greyhounds or Hounds. Hounds made sure nothing happened at the beach, meaning there was no orgy or sex between the hounds and those hanging out with the hounds. The hounds would chase other visitors off the beach who were having sex on the beach. The hounds would play volleyball naked. Quote, it was a time when we were just a group of people wanting to enjoy the sunshine without having to pull the suit out of our butts. End quote. Betzok has several pictures of the group. Betzok's brother, Joseph Stephen Andrew Banks, now deceased, was friends with Epstein and also was a member of the Hounds. Although Betzok advised her brother Banks was bisexual, Banks never molested Betzok. If Banks knew of any details relating to Epstein's sexual age preference, Banks never told Betzok. Betzok advised Epstein, quote, did not molest me, or I cannot remember, or maybe I am blocking it out, end quote. Betzok does not remember any names of the other kids that were hanging out with the Hounds. Betzok advised Epstein loved to frequent the New Jersey bar Frank's Chicken House, northeast of the beach. Betzox stated during the telephone interview the reason she called was to advise the FBI she would be happy to assist the FBI or the group of ladies that came forward. So Epstein being in a roving gang of nudists that protected a nude beach sounds incredibly bizarre, doesn't it? But here's an actual article online corroborating the nudist angle surrounding this beach. You can see up there, so goes the tale of the start of nude sunbathing and swimming at Sandy Hook. It's been that way for some time now, but there was a time when the nude beach debate was on like the heat these days and taken to the bridge, of course. And this article basically discusses how, yeah, there was actually a nude beach area and is in Sandy Hook. And I also read online somebody commented how Frank's Chicken House wasn't actually a bar, it was a strip club. So this obviously would have made perfect sense for Epstein to have liked frequenting a place like that. So, I don't know, these tip sheets are obviously all unverified, so you have to take them all with a grain of salt, but it's just so strange. There are so many different rabbit holes when it comes to Epstein and so many different lines of inquiry that could be followed up on that were just never pursued or chased. And yeah, it has just left me asking more questions and really never getting any answers. But let me know your thoughts on this in the comments section because I'm eager to hear your take and to see if you think that these claims might have validity. Young Jeffrey Epstein was a lover and a poet. Let me read you a little bit of his work. So this is a poem that Epstein wrote that comes from the birthday book. I think this says to Warren, dark as the night, not witty, not bright. As he goes through the halls, people stop and stare to see a Jewish boy with a dark fuzzy dark fuzzy hair. Your tutor, Jeff Epstein. So I guess he just wrote this for a student of his. Peculiar. We know that Jeffrey Epstein was a teacher for a very short period of time in his youth, which is a whole thing in itself. I mean, he dropped out of school and then shortly afterwards got a teaching gig at one of the most prestigious academies in all of New York City. But at one point in his life, Epstein was a young guy too. I know it's hard to believe with what he went on to do, but I mean, he was also just a kid. I think that's him top left. But here's one more poem he wrote to blank. As she goes through the hall, people stop and stare to see such a pretty girl with long yellow or golden hair. Love, Jeffrey Epstein. So he also seemed to focus on hair a lot. And you'll actually see later in some of the files in the Epstein file, Epstein was paying for haircuts for some of his victims. He was paying them to get specific haircuts and, telling them exactly how to get their haircut. I mean, I could go over there's a whole thread of messages about baby hair, which is really disturbing. But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. It's interesting to see all of this background on Epstein, especially coming from his birthday books, which I'm going back through right now and taking a second look at months after they were released. There's so much stuff in the book and so many things in all the letters and notes that I still haven't seen anybody talk about, so that's why I'm bringing it up here. But as always, let me know your thoughts. This Epstein file is one of the most credible of all. So basically, this is just another anonymous tip that came into the FBI that they documented. And if you pause and read this victim talks about how they were trafficked by Epstein. They give some really graphic details. But just look at the date. This was submitted in 2019, August 2019. Let me read you this paragraph. At one of the parties, two twin brothers, Alan and Orrin, who were involved in real estate, lured Blank and her friend Blank upstairs and locked the door. Blank knocked the door back open and the two ran back downstairs. Blank stated Orrin raped Blank and Orrin's brother, Tal, raped a 14-year-old girl named Blank. Blank tried to slit her wrist after the incident. So this is 2019. Those names probably didn't register. But let's flash forward to 2026. Alan, Tal, and Orrin are three brothers, the Alexander brothers from New York, and they have now all been convicted of sex trafficking and rape and some horrific offenses. So in 2019, these guys hadn't been arrested. They were well-respected businessmen in Manhattan, like real estate guys. And interestingly, these guys actually sold a house to Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner in Florida in 2020, a year after this tip was made. So how did this girl know that all three of these guys would be eventually convicted of sex trafficking? And I mean, to me, I find it weird that their two hubs where these guys operated out of were New York, just like Epstein, and Miami, just like Epstein. And in the same tip, the victim states, Blank also went to his St. Thomas Island, which he referred to as St. Jeffrey. Epstein and other powerful men, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, would have big orgy parties with her, other young girls, and older Victoria's Secret models. Now, the knowledge that Les Wexner was super tied into this network was not widely known at the time, so the Victoria's Secret information here is another big drop by this alleged victim.
And she claims that she had contact with Epstein from 2015 to 2019. That would mean that Donald Trump most likely was engaging in these activities with this victim, potentially during his presidency. But one thing I haven't seen people pointing out is this little tidbit of information up here. The victim says that Epstein referred to his island as St. Jeffrey. Keep in mind, when this tip was filed, Epstein had just been arrested. He was just starting to make his rounds in the news. People were just starting to really dig into Epstein and investigate him. So a lot of information about Epstein wasn't widely known. However, check out this file that I found in the files. Now, I initially thought this was strange because it's obviously a picture of a little girl. I made a whole video about this. But look at Jeffrey Epstein on the left and look at his pants. Sorry, the crop is weird, but his pants say Little St. Jeff's. Little St. Jeff's. Not Little St. James, Little St. Jeff's. And what did the victim say Epstein called his island? St. Jeffrey. So to me, that's even further corroboration. But as we know, even though many tips like this were sent in, they went uninvestigated, and to this day, they are still going uninvestigated. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section.
This is one of the most disturbing photos that I've seen in the recent Epstein files, and we need to talk about it. So clearly this photo seems to show what looks like a young child or teenager sitting in a circle of pigs in a barn. But the context behind this photo, we have no idea. We don't know if Epstein took this photo. We don't know if this was a photo that Epstein thought was funny. So as with all these videos that I do, I research these things before talking about them. And I have to say, after running this photo through multiple reverse image searches, I could not find a source point for this photograph. Meaning essentially this photograph hasn't appeared in any major mainstream media or been reported on anywhere, which obviously makes this a whole lot more disturbing. Who is this girl? What is she doing in this image? Why did Epstein have this image? What is this doing in the Epstein files? Well, disturbingly, we know that pigs have been used in the past to destroy evidence. This is not a conspiracy. This is not a myth. There are many criminal cases where the criminals have been convicted of murder, and it's been found out by investigators that they fed the bodies of their victims to the pigs. Not only did this happen at Piggy's Palace, the Robert Pickton murder farm, which is a whole kind of rabbit hole in its own that we could go down, but this has happened many, many times all over the US. I've reported on cases like this in the past. It's not a conspiracy. So to see an image of a redacted, I don't know if this is a victim or not, but this person's face has been redacted, sitting amongst a group of pigs in a barn, I don't know. I tend to see the darkest of dark, and that's where my mind goes when I'm seeing this image. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. This and all the other pictures that I'm talking about here on my TikTok, these are the reasons why we need more investigations into Epstein. We are seeing other countries do these investigations, and yet we here in America are controlled by a corrupt administration who are heavily implicated in these files. We need to remove the administration and finally have someone in there that will look into these allegations, because this shit is not normal. I hate to break it to you, but none of this is normal, and it hasn't been normal for a long time. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. This one file found in the Epstein files tells you so much. So as you can see, this is a photo that Jeffrey Epstein sent to himself. Now, we don't know exactly the context of this photo, but there are some interesting characters present. Obviously, we can see right here, there's Elon Musk. And as you can see up top, this email was sent in 2015. You can also see right here, there is Mark Zuckerberg. But later on in the files, we are given a glimpse at what I believe is the list of those who attended this dinner. It included Desiree Dudley, Ed Boyden, Elon Musk, Jeffrey Epstein, Joy Ito, Mark Zuckerberg, Michelle Yee, Naved Farouk, Peter Thiel, Priscilla Chan, and Reid Hoffman. So this is almost like the Avengers of super evil, super villain tech bros. You've got Peter Thiel, the guy who claims that the Antichrist is coming, and he loves to talk all the time about the Antichrist. You've got Reid Hoffman, who literally prays for society's downfall almost every day and believes we'd be better off under a king or some sort of a techno monarchy. And then we've got individuals like Mark Zuckerberg and also Elon Musk, who is an extremely problematic individual who has tried in the last week or so to completely distance himself from Epstein. But it's looking now like Elon was a lot closer to Epstein than he claims he was. So it's interesting. Here are some of the most powerful individuals on planet Earth, people that are literally kings of technology, some of the wealthiest individuals on the planet, and they're meeting in some sort of secret back room to discuss what? I don't know what they were discussing. And this isn't the first time that this happened, actually. In 2010, it's documented that there was another billionaire's dinner, and Epstein was invited to it. According to recent reporting from SF Gate, I'm going to read this to you, quote, "In the summer of 2010, Jeffrey Epstein and some of the most powerful tech executives in the world were invited to gather in the rolling hills of Napa as part of an exclusive retreat that discussed proteomics, a niche scientific field adjacent to the study of genetics. The event, which was scheduled to take place in St. Helena, was called Edge Master Break and hosted by John Brockman, a prominent science writer who established an esoteric nonprofit called Edge.org. Danny Hills, an entrepreneur, was scheduled to appear that year along with author Stuart Brand. The invitees included Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Sergey Brin, and several other high-profile guests. It's not clear if Epstein attended that event, but he did send himself this photo in 2015. And yeah, there's so much evidence that this dinner with Epstein and all of these power brokers happened. I mean, he was clearly friends with all of them. So the next time Elon Musk says he didn't know Epstein that well, or Mark Zuckerberg tries to deflect, just know deep in your heart of hearts that they are lying.